According to Joe Cowley, the Josh Giddey trade was the final straw, nailing the fact that DeMar DeRozan would not be back with the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
Tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
I see red, I see red, I see red, I see red, yeah, I see red, I see red, I see red, I see.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. You already know what it is. With that being said, we got another report. This one's coming from Joe Cowley. This says this: a source told the Sun-Times late Sunday night that the Alex Caruso-Josh Giddey trade was the final straw in DeMar DeRozan's mind for any sort of return, as the 34-year-old will now use his free agency to shop elsewhere. So if there's any remaining doubt, I know there are a lot of Bulls fans that still are holding out some type of hope that DeMar DeRozan would stay with the Chicago Bulls. It seems like that is done. DeMar DeRozan is done with the Chicago Bulls. It is what it is. And, everything comes and goes, ebbs and flows. And like I've said many times, I don't want to act like DeMar DeRozan didn't have some success here. You look at what he was able to bring to the Chicago Bulls team, how he was able to perform, breaking Wilt records, saving the Bulls a lot of times in close games, the only clutch performer in a lot of times for Bulls. This is the end of a short era, but it was an era that DeMar DeRozan had here with the Chicago Bulls, and I in no way want to act like it wasn't there. DeMar DeRozan had a run with the Chicago Bulls. We only got one playoff victory out of it. That's not all just on DeMar DeRozan. I'm not blaming that on DeMar, but everything has to come to an end. And the fact of the matter is as you see this roster taking shape, even as you see kind of the opportunities that need to go to young players, DeMar DeRozan is a very specific player in the sense that he can be effective, but he does need the ball in his hands. And he does need to be somebody who can be ball dominant. And when we saw this young Chicago Bulls team that didn't even have the good young pieces that they've added in Giddey, Mattis Bucilis, and Jalen Smith, you added more young pieces. But when we saw these young players look the best is when the ball was moving around the court freely and the ball wasn't sticking around as much. Patrick Williams was more involved. That's when Ayo Dosunmu really started, rounding out everything in his game. Even I believe that's when Julian Phillips started looking good, but then he fell out of the lineup because of injury, things like that. So this Bulls team has picked a new direction, and that clear direction is telling us that they are going younger, that they are trying to go more athletic, to quote what Gar Forman, who was supposed to do that 8 years ago. But that is what's shaping up here now with the Chicago Bulls, is that this is a team that is actually going younger, that is actually trying to play faster, that is going to take the bite at developing certain people on this roster to see what the most they can get out of it. That is what's shaping up here. I know not everyone is universally all for this. Some people really did think. I had a conversation in the comment section with somebody like a month ago, and they said, I don't think that the Bulls are that far off from the New York Knicks or Boston Celtics. I didn't agree with it, but there are some people that held out that hope and that thought process that maybe the Bulls, just with the right few set of moves, could get to where a lot of Bulls fans want them to get to. But ultimately, the Bulls are going younger. I think it's the right decision. Steve-O, how you feeling, brother?
Bye. That's all I feel. I did not want to see this shit again. I did not want to see no more 2006 ass offense. I'm done. I'm completely over it. It's good while it was lasted. It's probably last a little bit longer than I wanted it. But hey, thanks for your services. Hopefully you go get yourself a ring somewhere else. Hopefully you get whatever you want out of life. But it just won't work here no more. And I was getting tired of the basketball. It's really the basketball side of it. It was just hard to watch. With somebody like that, you have to build the roster a certain way. But I'm quite happy to see him go, to be quite frank, to be honest.
I mean, I'm glad that, listen, I mean, and everybody has the right to have their own, feeling on it. It's not universal. Everybody has their own feelings about what and where the Bulls should have went with certain things of this roster, how they should have handled certain players. But ultimately, a decision was made. And I like the fact that they finally made a decision. And now you just got to see that decision through. That's it.
Yeah, as simple as that. Like, we didn't really know what the direction is. Now we do. And it's clear to go in to clear everybody's mind so they have a certain mindset when they start training camp and then when they start the season. So now, even now, like with this news, you even change up some of the ways you want to train over the season, especially with like Kobe. Like he might change his whole summer up or the rest of his summer up to get ready because he might realize he's going to get way more shots now. So he might put himself in a lot of in-game situations and he might train based off that. So it's good to get this news early because we all know like sometimes we hold on to stuff a little bit too late and it can affect us during the season. The fact that we know what direction we're going before the season start is good, and it's before you even get to back to us getting back into camp is good.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And this makes a lot of sense to why you're seeing the Bulls. We talked about earlier when we talked about the Jalen Smith acquisition, is that just that signing, you could only do that signing if DeMar was leaving or you were trading Zach LaVine and not taking all the amount of his contract back. So this now shows why the Bulls are moving the direction that they're moving. DeMar DeRozan is gone. They know it. I wouldn't even be surprised if maybe that's what maybe convinced Torrey Craig to stay. Not to say that the Bulls are going to win a lot of games, but he is going to have a bigger role on this team, whether he's playing the 3 or the 4. There's going to be more minutes there. The Mattis Bucilis draft going after a wing there when we clearly needed a center. All those things point to the writing was on the wall that DeMar DeRozan was gone. And that just is what it is. Like everything ebbs and flows. And like I said before, when people act like some, I'm not saying all, act like, well, what are the Bulls going to do without DeMar? Man, we traded Derrick Rose for Jerry Grant. We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Nah, you being nice. I wish it was Jerry Grant. We traded him for Jose Calderon
and Jerry Grant. They were both in that trade.
Oh, it was the double trade. Oh yeah, it was together.
Oh,
yeah.
So
a bag of Jay's chips and a Snicker bar.
Yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly. So, you know, is this frustrating? This is, and I want to be clear because I'm not going to blame because DeMar is who he is, and DeMar was exactly what the Bulls signed up for. He was every bit of that. We knew he wasn't a defender there. We knew he had to be ball dominant. We knew he was operating in the mid range. We knew all of that when we signed him. But this is you got to look at the front office. The reason why this did not work and go the way that they hoped. Yes, injuries played a part in that. That's not in the front office's concern, but they did not rebound well from the Lonzo Ball injury. Everything slowly came crumbling down after that, and we just watched a slow, agonizing death over 3 years of something that died 3 months into it. It's been on hospice.
Like that's
the
how
Chicago Bulls have been on hospice the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's how it was when we first got him. Like to me, I thought it was just he was just attraction to get numbers, butts into seats, and to get Zach to sign his contract. Didn't know he was gonna keep him this long, but I felt like if he was gonna keep him this long and he's gonna be a focal piece into this whole core, you got to get him a point guard if you want to have a smooth offense. Because if you don't have a point guard, you're not winning. It's just that simple. If you want any chance of going to the championship, if he don't have a point guard, you're not going to win. So once I realized we wasn't going to get no point guard, I'm like, there's no point of him being here because we're not going to win. We're not even going to get close.
It is what it is, bro. It is what it is when it comes down to it. And like I said, I wish the best for DeMar. I don't have no ill will toward DeMar DeRozan at all. I hope wherever he decides to go, that he is able to make it to the finals. Don't get me. I know DeMar and people say the whole the Raptors thing and stuff like this, but I think if you let DeMar DeRozan get to the finals, you're going to get a great performance because he's going to be locked in. No, not if it's the Lakers. I don't want to see the Lakers do shit. But if it's any team other than the Lakers, I hope that DeMar DeRozan makes it to the finals. That's it.
Yeah, because he just didn't fit here. Like, especially the last 2 years, he just didn't fit here. We all knew that he needs to be on a contending team where when it's time for them to get a bucket in the playoffs, he's that guy. Not him being the bucket for 48 minutes in a game. Like, that's not what he needs to be doing right now at this stage of his career. So, you need us, like I said, he needs a certain place where he needs to go to be himself. And Chicago was just not that place, especially if you want to win.
When you look at this, what do you think as of right now? I know I'm throwing this on you, may not be prepared for, but other than, of course, the LA teams, which we all know, where do you think are some possibilities for DeMar DeRozan?
Honestly, I'm trying to think what maybe because I got to think how the money is going to say because he's not going to just sign anything. But besides the LA teams, like if the Mavs don't get that deal done with Clay, I could see them possibly looking at him. But that's
Okay.
only to come. But they know. I think if they're talking with him, it's a lesser role. So he's gonna have to understand it's a lesser role. So it could be the Mavs. I thought Memphis I thought Memphis might have been a decent team for him to go to just because they need some leadership there, and they don't really. I mean, outside of their scorers that they already have, they don't have a closer. I will say, especially with Ja being unhealthy. So to take some pressure off Ja, I wouldn't think it'd be bad for him to go to Memphis. We'll say Heat, but I don't know if the Heat can afford them. So I don't think Orlando needs them. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Like, there's not too many teams I could honestly see him on, and especially with the money he gonna have to make. Like, I was thinking, like I don't know what New Orleans gonna do with what's the man? He played point guard for them. He was at Portland.
CJ McCollum.
CJ, I don't know what they're gonna do with CJ.
Oh, he's not leaving. I think he's really good. He's gonna be good next to DeJounte. I don't think they're getting rid of CJ. I mean, I could be wrong. I just don't see it happen.
I don't either, but I'm just trying to throw his stuff and make it stick. But hold on.
I'm gonna throw a weird one towards you because this is possible. I'm looking at the salary cap sheet and everything right now. So technically, even though the Philadelphia 76ers have been, if they're willing to go, which their owner has said he's willing to spill anything, they still have $23 million under the second tax apron. If they were willing to give up a Paul Reed to sign and trade with the Chicago Bulls, which would clear $30 million in cap space for them, in sign and trade, would you do that for the Bulls?
I'll do that just because the question, especially with the two main stars, has been injuries. There's one thing we can say about DeMar is he gonna play.
Yeah, he's gonna play.
So he gonna play. So I'll make that move in a heartbeat if I'm them, because you are now. I mean, you are already a threat, but you a real threat to Boston if you allowed to get yourself to go get DeMar over there.
Yeah,
not even gonna lie to you.
CJ 724. Is that your birthday, by the way? If it's your birthday, remind me so I'll write it down. We're trying to keep all the supporters' birthdays down so I can tell them birthday. He said Orlando. The only thing is that Orlando, now that they've gotten KCP, it seems like, because I used to think that Orlando could go offense. Their offense was trash, their defense was great. But them getting a player like KCP who adds to their offense and may even still make them a better defensive team, I think that they don't want to take a step back defensively at all. And I don't know if DeMar does that for them with the role that he would need. It's not like you're adding DeMar as a bench player. KCP, you paid him as a starter. He's starting at $22 million per season. So I don't think DeMar is going to take a secondary role, and you're not benching Franz Wagner for DeMar DeRozan.
And I was just about to say, like, that's my main thing. He's going to mess up the development of Franz and Paolo if he goes there.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, like you said, if he goes to Orlando, he's starting at that shooting guard position. Gary, he's starting over KCP, and Gary, whatever he does, he's not going to be there. So if he on Orlando, he gonna start, and that's gonna affect Franz, and that's definitely gonna affect Paolo. So I like how I like they move already. I don't want them to have. I don't think they need another big time scorer like that. I think they need somebody just to add to the pot.
Yeah, I agree there.
What about
Zachary? Zaquan. Sorry, my bad, Zaquan. Do you see DeMar going to Houston?
I was just about to ask you that.
Hold on. Let me look at their tax sheet real quick. So they are $24 million below the first tax apron. Considering that they've added veterans each year, they have defenders there. I don't hate it for Houston. I just don't know who they'd be willing to give up to make it happen. They just added Steven Adams there.
To Houston?
Yeah, he's on Houston's roster.
I didn't know that. That's why I was asking.
That's
a nice move. Especially for the backup role. That's a nice move. What about, so I've been hearing some rumors that possibly that Spurs are looking at maybe making a move for Brandon Ingram. Now, if that don't fall through, could you see them looking at DeMar?
The Spurs to go back to DeMar. You're going to add Chris Paul and DeMar
No,
DeRozan
did I
to the
say
same
Spurs?
roster. I thought you said Spurs. Maybe I heard you wrong.
I probably did. I meant Kings.
Kings. Okay, Kings.
Kings was looking at BI, and I was like, if they don't look at BI, could you see them looking at DeMar?
I don't know if he fits the way they like to play fast there. I don't think so. I don't think so.
In my mind, I'm strictly thinking he a bench player. That's
the thing. I don't think DeMar accepts a bench player role. Now, if DeMar is willing to come off the bench, that opens up a whole new world of possibilities. For me, I just don't know if DeMar is willing to come off maybe for a championship level team, but I don't see it. I don't see it.
Because that's really what I'm looking at. Like that, I'm trying to stay away from all the teams that's not really contenders because I don't see him going nowhere where they're still like with us, we was kind of like that bridge of like he can possibly throw us a little bit towards the contender side. I think he wants to be on a certified contender now. Like he's 34 years old. So like to me, out of all the names that we made the most sense of, Philly makes the most sense. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
We'll see. I mean, they can make it happen. They'd have to get some move. They're a team that would have to get a sign and trade. So I'll tell you what, if the Bulls want anything back and to not let DeMar walk for free, Philly seriously pursuing DeMar DeRozan would be the best outcome for the Bulls because they would have to give up something to make that happen.
I want Oubre, but I know they ain't gonna do that.
Yeah. And they just re-signed him. They can't trade him if they wanted to. So
Paul Reed is probably the only person. Yeah. He has pretty much Paul Reed. Plus, I think they'll do, especially with them losing Tobias today. I think Sixers might be that one.
We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Any last thoughts, Steve, before we get up out of here, bro?
No. Thanks for the services. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, like I said, DeMar DeRozan came here and he did exactly what they signed DeMar DeRozan to be. He's a flawed player. We knew that when we signed him, and so I don't hold that against him in the grand scheme of things. Like, don't get me wrong. During the game, do I want to see DeMar DeRozan play better defense? Absolutely. But I got to realize that they didn't sign him here for that. And he did everything that he needed, and that they signed him for. So, if this is the end, shout out to DeMar DeRozan for 3 years. We've had some very big moments with DeMar DeRozan, hitting some big shots, game winners. I think the highest viewed video on my channel still is after the second game-winning 3-point shot that he hit on New Year's Day. I think that's still the highest view. I think it was 20,000 views on that one. So, there you go. Shout out.
Those good times.
Yeah, that's still when we thought we had something, right? That was still fun times. But yeah, man. Shout out to DeMar DeRozan for that time. And you guys know I already told y'all earlier. If news drops, we drop. I'm sure you'll see my face again. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See red, y'all. Hit that subscribe button, by the way. Trying to get to 20,000 subscribers by the start of the season. Let's help me do that. But